after pigs and some of the other things.
Well, like if somebody thought you were a narc,
right?
Go, here comes 5-0.
Yeah, they let you know that was 5-0 coming and everything like that. Gretchen was going to come on the show yesterday, the economic show, and apparently we were correct. She wants to defend, and maybe we'll get her on this show as well. But she thinks that Trump is doing wonderful things with this whole situation with Argentina beef and the U.S. beef. So she is doing her usual typical Trump supporter and everything like that. So maybe she'll come on and explain how this is a good thing. But as we were speculating, she definitely thinks it's a good thing, this whole Argentina beef agreement and everything like that. But
don't cry for me, Argentina. Yeah, here we're sending them like 40 billion. You know,
yep.
I want to hear those arguments too, because I do not like sending other countries lots of money. Sorry, Sasha, but seriously, the U.S. is broke and it needs all the money it can get. I did check out the debt to GDP in Bangladesh. Do you know you have a very low debt to GDP ratio? In other words, your country is basically financially sound, or at least more sound than the United States. It is sad. And Canada isn't much better than we are. So unfortunately, and you know, the good countries are Luxembourg and Ireland, believe it or not. Luxembourg's GDP, debt to GDP ratio is about 25%. The United States is like 125%. So people don't realize that we have a big problem in the US. It's called financial mismanagement. So who do you bring to clean it up? Do you bring Jamie Dimon, who was able to turn around Bank One and Chase? Do you bring in Peter Thiel, who created companies that are worth lots of money? No, you bring Donald Trump, whose history is 8 bankruptcies.
So let's talk about Argentina for a second. So there's up to 44 million pounds of Argentine beef is exempt from tariffs. That you can bring up to 20,000 metric tons, 44 million pounds of Argentine beef to the U.S., and they don't have to pay a tariff on it. Trump wants to quadruple that, the amount of Argentine beef that you don't have to pay tariffs on, to 176 million pounds.
And how does that help? How does that help us? What's the big deal? How does it work?
I don't think, we'd have to have Gretchen on to explain.
Yeah, I think we really do need Gretchen on, because I can't figure it out. For me, finance is very simple. You want money in, don't send it out. You want to grow it and make yourself financially more powerful. This whole thing of Argentina, here's 40 billion. You better have some good reasons, because that's not chump change. That's not the stupid $2 billion that Joe Biden gave to Internet for All. You're talking.
He never gave it.
$40 billion. So what you have is mismanagement after mismanagement. You have Trump mismanagement in the economy, Biden mismanagement, and now you have Trump mismanagement again. Great. So what do you got? 38 trillion in debt, which we accrue 1 trillion in debt almost every year, and they said like 10 billion a day.
We accrue 2 trillion in less than 10 months.
And by the way, rich people ain't going to bail you out. They don't have enough money.
But you're leaving out Obama, and you're leaving out George W. Bush. George W. Bush added $8 trillion to fight the Iraq War. Obama added $8 trillion to drag us out of the
recession. Yeah, right. And I honestly think Joe Biden thought the same thing. I'll just print more money and life will be good. Then he came into the big I, or inflation. Well, let's hear from Sasha, because he's in Canada, and they all hate America now. I don't live in America now, so I don't really care what we hate. Go on.
First of all, today is the first day ever that one company is worth more than $5 trillion. The name of the company is NVIDIA. They've made quite a lot of positive announcements, which is extremely good for me, because I have a lot of shares of NVIDIA, and I have also a lot of shares, even more shares of NVDY. It's a company which engaged in selling of covered calls on NVIDIA and distributes every week. Well, today they announced their latest dividend is 18.25 cents per quarter for this week. And they announced today, tomorrow record day, and Friday money is in my account. So this is very, very good news. Now, you would like to understand maybe how come that U.S. stock market is going higher and higher and higher, and there is no any scale, valuation, or anything to justify these levels. But the trick is that, in fact, if you will take S&P 500 companies, which is participant of my programs on modern investing, he's crazy about S&P 500. This is all American economy. It's the best. The American economy will never fail, or so on. Okay, I'll tell him that a couple of hours later, but I want to tell you today. The truth is that 398 companies are losing money out of 500 S&P. 398 are losers. Now, if you take the remaining 102 companies, there is Magnificent Seven, and now it's becoming Magnificent Seven. There are Magnificent Six, and one super company, which is NVIDIA. So these 7 companies together, they are making up 35% of the S&P. They are creating a huge, monstrous billions, trillions of dollars of profit. So there is a decoupling of U.S. Stock market, which is, okay, take 500 minus 7, okay? So it leaves you with 493 impotent companies, and you have a usual business which is not associated with stock market, which is suffering right now. Take ranchers, take small businesses, take just anything. It's all falling apart since Trump announces these tariffs, and it will get just nothing but worse. So this is, now the major thing is that this is all happened by design. You see what's happened after financial crisis of 2008, 2009. Financial institution, major banks, and so on, they've insulated the biggest companies and created a system of self-enrichment where all this money are being created by Magnificent Seven or many other companies. In fact, what they're doing with the profits, what are they paying to shareholders? Maybe are they paying it better wages to their workers? Absolutely no. They are buying their own shares. So then there will be even more profit per share because there are lesser shares available. So your profit per share will be even bigger. And they concentrate on that number, profit per share. So eventually the valuation is going higher. The profit, they are not doing any innovations. They are not doing any product enhancements or any enhancement of working conditions or just nothing. They do nothing. They just keep creating value, artificial value by scooping their own shares. So they're creating this value. So the stock market tried to, I'm not going to be surprised that Dow Jones will go to 10,000, S&P 500 to 15,000, and Nasdaq will go to 25,000 in the near term. I'm not talking about next year. And it has nothing to do with the financial health of average American.
And plus, we're not getting numbers on financial health right now because the government is shut down. So we're not getting inflation numbers. We're not getting unemployment numbers. We're flying blind.
But by the way, look at unemployment to be about 5 to 7% in the fourth quarter. We're getting notification. Amazon just laid off 30,000 employees. UPS, which is one of my companies I invest in, just laid off 27,000 employees. The federal government just had obviously massive amounts of people that aren't getting a job. So if this trend continues, I'm looking at unemployment to be 5 to 7% in the fourth quarter.
So
Like,
the
no
latest
kidding. Right now, no one's talking about it, but I am telling you, all the leading economic indicators show that people are losing their jobs. This is going to create havocs in the market.
Just about half an hour ago, I've heard Trump's speech in South Korea. So what he's talking about is the stock market is booming. It's going higher and higher. And you will see what's happened today is going to be a cut of interest rates. And tomorrow, my meeting with Emperor Xi, and we will have fantastic news. And then, so what interesting observation is that Trump wants to, you see, okay, 25 points is done deal that will lower interest rates today, but the comments of Jerome Powell extremely important. So he can lower interest rates, and at the same time he can warn that there will be no further interest rates because of this or that, and inflation and workers unemployment coming and so on. So to camouflage this, if that happened, he makes announcement. Why meeting is on the 30th of October, is to have a good news with Emperor Xi. By the way, with South Korea, so everybody expected millions of good news. There are not very good news with South Korea, because the Prime Minister of South Korea, he said that the recent holding of North Korean workers, they're not just workers, they're very highly specialized engineers who were, I think in Carolina it happened, or Virginia.
Georgia, it was Georgia.
It was Georgia.
Well,
Sorry. So they were handcuffed and sent back to Seoul. So he's talking about, so these people, they will know, they're very bright people, they're top level specialists. They're not going to come back to United States.
Well, they might be.
Families will not will be against it, and I don't know who will agree to come to United States when they can be handcuffed and sent home. That's Prime Minister of South Korea, and Trump is expecting $500 billion or 2 trillion or 5 trillion. He's already saying that the United States got $22 trillion of new investment. Show me the money.
Well, speaking of showing you the money and everything like that, Nick, I want to know: do you have any in your bank account and in your portfolio? Do you have any CERTA or CERTI, I think it's called, and everything like that? It is a exchange that is celebrating its 60th year today, and apparently it's doing well. It's and they have a stock exchange of their own, but it is the money that you would go if you were trading in Ghana, because apparently the Ghana Stock Exchange is showing an uptick and everything like that. So the CERTA is the monetary exchange that is now celebrating its 60th anniversary. I stumbled across an African news source yesterday that told me about this.
So every couple of months, economists and other experts are surveyed about the odds of a recession. And in 5 different surveys, if the tariffs hold, now the Supreme Court can, in the next couple of months, will rule on whether Trump's tariffs can stand or whether he has to rescind them. If they stand, economists and other experts are putting the odds of a recession at 50% in the next year. So, Sasha, if you don't own NVIDIA yet, should you buy it or not?
Well, now NVIDIA, I would say is this. I have a lot of shares, and I bought today actually additional 200 shares. But I want to tell you something. You have to understand that there is a strategic buying and momentum buying. For momentum buying, the upside is quite limited, to be frank. Really quite limited. So do it as a strategic buying. That's a different story, because the next year will be absolutely incredible year for NVIDIA. So let's see, if you're buying now, it's $210 a share. Okay, so if you're buying at 210 and it will go to 250 next year, that's pretty good profit. and you can accept even if it will move in the next couple of weeks, it will move down. Not couple of weeks, I think in 4 or 5 weeks, because you have earnings at the end of this month. While I would recommend buy NVIDIA, I would recommend to sell also covered calls. That gives you a little bit of a protection. So let's see, if you're buying now 100 shares at 210, and you're buying, say, even this expiration this Friday, it's in 2 days, you're selling covered calls, it will generate you $4.50, which is $450. So most likely it will expire worthless. So 450 is yours to keep anyway. However, if it will move down to say 106, and you bought it at 210, and it's moved down to 206, you're still making money because you sold for 450 or 460.
So what you're saying is you don't want to buy NVIDIA because everybody's buying it and everybody's excited, because in the near future people are likely to the market is likely to people are likely to get pessimistic, but you do want to buy NVIDIA because you think good news is going to continue to come out of the company. They're going to continue to report good stuff.
Yeah, most likely. Somehow the president of NVIDIA, Jensen, he got into good grace with Trump. How he did it, I'm not so sure. But, well, maybe by investing money into Intel, which is now belongs partially to the U.S. government. Maybe some other reasons for that, but he's in good grace. So now there is no danger of some kind of political investigations or anything like this. So this is one. Now, with their war chest, I've lost already even number how much cash NVIDIA carries. We are talking about tens of billions of dollars. So they're now investing in all kinds of companies. Forget about Intel. They're investing in the OpenAI. They're investing in the Nokia. They're producing a new supercomputer with Eli Lilly, which will do wonderful things by creating new drugs, so the process will be much faster and cheaper and much more efficient. So the news coming almost every day, and I don't see that it will stop anytime soon.
So this discussion right now, I think, is on the plateau that level discussion that we were talking about before. I mean, it's great information on stocks, but as prices rise, as we're talking about right now, people can barely afford to buy food. Why are they even thinking about buying stocks? And they're priced out of the stock market because the stocks that you're talking about are starting at roughly about $100 to $200 in the first place. So they're jumped in on penny stocks, and they're not going to make any money on penny stocks. They're going to lose money on penny stocks. Yeah. So the problem that we're having right now isn't about the stock market. The stock market's going to boom. Why? Because rich people can invest into the stock market and buy whatever they want to from NVIDIA, because NVIDIA is not going anywhere. Yes, they're being used for AI chips. You have other companies that are slowly starting to come up because they're building all this stuff. You have energy companies, because energy is actually the next barrier for AI. And until energy is solved, AI is going to have problems still. And nobody's going to lead the market until they figure out energy. On a side note, France just broke the record for fusion. I think they're sitting at 22 minutes, which is a top right now. But the discussion that we're having is at top level. And I think we missed out on some stuff when we talked about the Argentinian beef, because there is no defense for it, but a Trump supporter will always support Trump regardless of whatever it does. Because it's as if, Nick, you have a business that's failing. Rick, I'm going to give you some money. That isn't how it works. It's not helping Nick you at all for me to give Rick the money that you need. It doesn't work. It's just idiotic. It's just they're gonna defend Trump regardless. And another issue that Trump brought up, which I think we glossed over, is the fact, Sasha, what you said about Korea is spot on. Hyundai is not going to send its people here because of the aggressive tactics around immigration, and it's just going to happen again. They're not going to put their people through that. Then on top of that, he went to Japan right before that. You guys know what he said in Japan? He said, "Hey, everybody, buy Toyota.
So I have a question.
Buy Toyota."
Jacoby, I
Now,
have a
how is that
question.
America first when you're giving $40 billion to Argentina and now telling everybody to buy Toyota and not the actual American brands that you're supposed to be supportive of in Japan?
So I had a thought last night, Jacoby, and I've got to, maybe you can help answer this question. Your sister is a police officer, right?
My sister-in-law, yes.
Yeah, so I was thinking that if I were a cop or did any kind of work in security where I had to wear a uniform, that I would be pissed at ICE because ICE's thuggish tactics, I would suspect, reduce respect for and increase skepticism of any kind of uniformed officer.
Exactly. Because already the police department, having tons of friends and even some family members in the police department and even the prison area, yes, they are already being seen as having aggressive tactics.
Right.
The defund police, which was, it came out of a lot of dealing. I mean, yes, it's been a push before George Floyd, but a lot of the defund police movement hit around George Floyd stuff, and it sparked. It was a poor name for it because really what they were trying to do was actually put more money into the police department to give better services. So an actual on-beat cop would not have to go stop a drug deal and then go help somebody who's having a mental breakdown. So it actually funded money to actually different services to put people out into different positions to allow for the best response. But so you also had the demilitarization of police movement and so on and so forth. What is ICE? ICE is militarized. ICE is now doing everything that people marched against with the police. And ICE is doing it even worse because you got now the guy who was caught on camera. He was one of the leaders in one of the groups tossing a tear gas into a crowd when he was told not to. Now he's supposed to report to a judge. Who's going to hold him accountable? Nobody. Because what will happen is if he goes to jail or if he gets a sentence, you know who's going to try and do all he can to get him out of jail and put him into a position. That's where we are now. And it's sad.
So let's talk in 2 days, 42 million Americans who get food benefits. Now, the Republicans like to say, well, these are freeloaders who are just getting food for free and they need to go out and get a job. Most people who get food aid have jobs or their kids. You know, kids, their job is going to school. So don't worry about the kids, but the adults who get aid, SNAP benefits, most of them have jobs. They just have low paying jobs like at Walmart. And they need help. And 1 American in 8 gets SNAP benefits. And those benefits are going away, I think, on November 1st, right? Also on November 1st, America gets people who have the Affordable Care option, Obamacare, will get their bills to have health care coverage for the next year. And they're going to see, I heard like a crazy number that a family making 85 grand will see their health coverage costs go from 6 grand to 24 grand. Now, I don't know, that sounds insane to me, but in 2 days, America is going to get all sorts of news.
I think
it's insane for sure. Since in Ontario, all your medical bills are zero. It doesn't matter if you have a heart operation or you have a cold or whatever it might be, zero. That's it. You can criticize the system. Sometimes you have to wait for MRI longer times or so on. But even MRI is free as well. And so you'll do it instead of 1 o'clock daytime, you will do it at 11 o'clock in the evening. Yeah, it's inconvenient or so on, but you'll do it much faster. In say in a week or 2, you will do it. So for me, this is really insane, and I feel sorry for you, my American friends.
Well, you guys, I just looked it up. You guys are getting a lot of immigrants from us. Where a lot of you've got your own border issue where Americans and non-citizens living in America are moving north to you guys because it's less crazy up there.
Well, that's crazy up there and everything. I've got a question for Nick and everything, because we used to have a show on this network that involved this place that I'm here to talk about, because this is the World Edition and everything along those lines. But have you done any investment or anything around Nigeria? Because I remember we used to have the Mind Closet and everything, and I just looked up and they said that as of October 2025, which is this year, the Nigerian stock market, represented by the Nigerian Exchange, has had a record-breaking year. Though it is, they've had some other issues, even with their own version of Black Lives Matter, even though it's black on black crime in that sense and everything like that. But it seems like they are recovering nicely, and they've got a couple of companies that are doing well, like BUA Foods, Nestle, which is of course Nestle chocolate, Dangote Cement, and BUA Cement, and MTN Nigeria. So they've posted some very strong earnings in the corporate world and everything like that. So we got to pay attention to some of these other countries as well, because they said that a lot of them are doing well. I mentioned Ghana earlier, and apparently they're doing well in banking, telecommunications, insurance, your field, well, partially your field and everything. So what is your thoughts on some of these other countries like Ghana and Nigeria that are apparently doing quite well? You're on mute.
Rick, look up the most corrupt country in the world and see if Nigeria doesn't appear number one. So, I can't go into places that are like that. I am meeting with somebody from Rwanda as soon as we're done here, which will be like in 15 or 20 minutes. But Rwanda is different. It's very clean.
There's a bull run on Nigeria's equities market. So you're saying that that's all corrupt?
Well, I'm not saying they don't have money, because they have huge oil reserves, but so does Venezuela.
Right. So there are I looked it up. There are 200 countries in the world, but this corruption rank only lists 180 countries, which makes me think that the 20 crappiest countries in the world don't even make a list, because things are so effed up over there that they can't even measure the corruption. But in the bottom 10, South Sudan, which is being torn up by civil war, massacres, Somalia, Venezuela, Syria, Yemen, Libya, Eritrea, Equatorial Guinea, Nicaragua, North Korea, Myanmar, which used to be Burma, Burundi, Afghanistan. I don't know where you would find
Nigeria apparently isn't in that list that you had and everything like that. So apparently their corruption is not as bad as it
hold
used
on,
to be.
let me see if I can find it on the list. It's a lot of
Yeah, see if you can find it on the list, because I did look at it the other day, because it's oil-rich country. But so, like I said, no, so is Venezuela. But look
Nigeria, according to this, ranks 140th. So they're 70% of the countries in the world are less corrupt, 30% are more corrupt than Nigeria. Its neighbors on the list are Guatemala, Uganda, Mexico, Madagascar, Iraq.
Right,
So, not great, but not at the very bottom.
Exactly.
Yeah, okay. So
apparently they've been doing some major improvements. As a matter of fact, there was a conference going on that's involving a lot of the African and Middle Eastern countries that's taking place right now, because I actually stumbled across it yesterday when I was doing some.
Well, here's another country in the news. Now, so Ukraine became its own country, independent from the Soviet Union when the wall fell in 1993, I don't know, 89, I don't know, 89, 90, 91.
The end of 1991.
All right. So since then, for the past 30 years, there's been a push to make Ukraine's government less corrupt, because for the first, 10, 20 years, some of Ukraine's leadership was in Russia's pocket, and it wasn't great. So where's Ukraine now? Ukraine is 105th in the world in corruption. Not right in the middle, not great, not the worst in the world.
Yeah. And so those countries, then, if they don't, they have a hard time joining the European Union. So I don't know what Putin's garbage is all about. I mean, he's
Where is Russia? Rick, can you look at what number Russia is?
Yeah, let's
Russia.
Russia.
By the way, that's a good question.
Russia, 154th in the world.
Dude.
So worse than Ukraine by far, worse than Nigeria. 3/4 of the countries of the world are less corrupt than Russia.
When was the last time we go to
that would not surprise me. You know.
Hey, Nick and Sasha, because y'all study stock markets. I don't really study stock markets. Maybe other people can look it up and everything. But when was the last time a Western stock market was up 40%? Because that's apparently what the Nigerian stock market is. It's up 40%. So when was the last time
pretty good.
Yeah.
So I looked up the U.S. Even with all the craziness going on, the U.S. is ranked 28th in corruption. So we are less corrupt, according to this list, than 85% of the countries in the world.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, the reason the stock market is up in the African countries is that they have young people and they have a lot of resources. In other words, the mineral resources, the oil resources, all the different types that you have is incredible. And so because of that demographic, it wouldn't surprise me. They even had a study that these cell phones, the sales are up like 11,000% in Africa. Because when people get money, they don't invest in Apple stock, which they should. They buy the Apple cell phone.
I would recommend, Mark, for you to look at the liquidity factor. Because if you have 5 top bosses in Nigeria and there is no liquidity, the people can't afford to buy any shares or so on. So you're basically trading among yourself. You can get 40% and 60% and 95%. It doesn't matter, because if I sold you something at say $50 and you sell it back to me at $65 and I sell it again to you at $95, so the price is going higher and higher and higher, but there is no liquidity. It's like a story. It's very, very important to understand that one industrialist who had tremendous businesses, factories and so on, and he phoned to, it's in the US around 2030s of last century. So he phones his stockbroker and say, how much my shares are doing? Oh, they're up 5%. Okay, buy me 10,000 shares. So he bought it. In 2 days, he bought, they went up another 20%. Buy me another 35,000 shares. And so many days going on and on and on. So finally he calls again, buy me another 10,000 shares.
Well, this is what they said, and like I said, we're supposed to be World Edition, so I'm trying to bring up some other parts of the world. But they say,
well, you mentioned.
Hold on. They say analysts remain optimistic about the Nigerian stock market's potential, especially if economic stability continues. Key drivers to the sustained growth include further easing of inflation and interest rates, which is what we're trying to do, which could drive more retail investment into equities. Sustained strong corporate earnings. So apparently they got strong corporate earnings from major companies. Successful implementation of the banking sector's recapitalization and the new insurance sector bill, because they got a new insurance sector bill, and factors like foreign exchange volatility, which means us in here on the West and other places, and inflation continue to pose risks that could affect their market performance.
Mark, my friend, is it what you just said so important that you interrupted me right in the middle of sentence? How come?
That you were not done. I thought that you had stopped.
No, not at all. You just
like I said, I thought you were done. So if you're going to yell at me,
I was telling very important story, which is in fact related to your stupid Nigerian stock market, and you interrupted.
Wait a minute, we're not going to be strictly a Western network and everything like that.
One day trades more than all your Nigerian stock market in 5 years. Do you understand what you're talking about?
I understand that. I have friends that are from these countries and everything. Hey, Sasha, I'm not going to put up with your bullshit today.
Don't understand
anything.
So why you keep talking about things where you don't understand anything?
You don't know what I understand. You don't know what I don't understand. You don't know who my friends are. You don't know what my contacts are. So you can just shut the fuck up.
What did you say?
I said, you heard me. You can just shut the fuck up.
Right.
You close your mouth and never say the things like that. Okay?
I have numbers. So, Mark, you mentioned Ghana. So,
yes, I did.
Ghana is 80th in the world in corruption. It's less there. If you want to invest in Africa, there are plenty of countries that have low corruption scores. Ghana is less corrupt, according to this list, than 60% of the countries in the world. Namibia, less corrupt than 70%. Rwanda, I don't know about Rwanda, seems nightmarish, but I don't know. But not corrupt. Botswana. So and the deal with Africa is they have a ton of natural resources, and one resource is there's a worldwide baby shortage, except in Africa. By 2050, the only continent that will have positive population growth is Africa. So if you want to hire a bunch of people for not a lot of money, the industry will be moving to Africa over that requires a lot of human capital. It's happening with AI right now, but AI requires a bunch of low-wage employees to code stuff so it can be entered into AI databases. A lot of those people are working for 50 cents, $1 an hour in Africa.
Yep.
So probably there are opportunities to invest in Africa. I don't know that any of us.
Nick was going to be here because I reached out to the network that I found, because like I said, I literally stumbled across them as I was doing some research yesterday for the network of Pod TV. And that's where I found Arise News and this particular conference that was going on as we're speaking. All
right, there's one more thing now IQ is a tricky thing, because IQ is built on bullshit and it's inherently racist. However, the average IQ of the entire world went up by 15 points in the 50 years after World War II. And the guy who discovered this, a guy named Flynn, says that it's because information became available to the whole world, where before World War II, if you wanted to know what was going on in the world and you lived in Africa, you were kind of SOL. But in the 50 years, everybody got TV, everybody got radio, everybody got, like back when Africa joined the world, and all these backwaters learned about the world, and that increased the average IQ by a huge amount. And now everybody in the world, we got our first smartphones in, I think, 2007, 2008. Now there are as many smartphones in the world as there are people. So everybody in Africa knows what's going on. Everybody in every part of the world knows what's going on, which is great for world economics, because wherever you go, you have an educated, intelligent population that you can hire, and you can, China, 1.4 billion people you can hire for less than you can hire people in the US. Africa, the wages are even lower, but you get educated people, smart people.
Yep, I agree with you on that. You definitely get smart people and educated people along those lines and everything like that. So that's what I was trying to say, is that you get a lot more conversation, and that we need to include not just the Western countries, which we've been doing a good job of, and which is why I was reaching out to those people from Arise News, and hopefully I'll hear back from them and all along those lines.
Yeah, so but Africa has like 50 different countries, so you need to do an exploit, and you need to know which countries are like not insane.
There's insanity in the West as well, and everything like that. Because the
U.S. is currently pretty crazy. Do you want to invest in the U.S.? If you had a choice between, you have $10,000 to invest, do you want to invest it in the U.S. or do you want to invest it in Canada or frickin' Denmark or Estonia? The U.S. seems pretty unpredictable right now. But on the other hand, all the little hand grenades that are due to go off on November 1st in 2 days, SNAP, frickin' health insurance, new numbers on inflation and unemployment. The U.S. might become a great place to invest sometime in the next year because we might have a 20% drop in the stock market if various bubbles pop and there's a massive freak out. You know, somebody was saying, Jacoby, I think, rich people love a stock market crash because then they can jump in and buy a couple $1 million worth of stock at a deep discount.
Yep, they can definitely do that.
Exactly.
And all of those.
And honestly, first off, I want to say 2 old people yelling at each other and cussing each other is hilarious to a young person. It's just funny. It's like 2 old people standing at the corner of a gate yelling, "Your dog pooped on my yard. You get your effing dog on my." It was just hilarious to me. So I tried not to laugh, but I had to come out because I was actually laughing a little bit. But anyway, yeah, I mean, I think honestly, like I said, I think the discussion earlier when we were talking about the stock market was on a privileged area. And I think Sasha, honestly, I think can speak to the stock market and how people lose money on penny stocks and gambling on these things that people that we're trying to suggest. That's why people are jumping into crypto. They're losing. It's easy and cheap money to get into crypto, but you lose money so quickly in crypto and all these Coinbase things. And it's a sucker thing. It's like the lottery. Who plays the lottery? Rich people don't play the lottery. It's poor people. It affects poor people more so than anybody when they play the lottery and they're losing tons of money. It's a cheap tax on poor people to make up benefits somewhere else because they're always looking for their dream. And that's where the stock market thing is. And again, Sasha, I think you'd be great speaking about the dangers of the stock market as well, because it's a double-edged sword. And I think you know it best about that double-edged sword of how you can lose a ton of money.
Speaking about penny stocks, the problem is that there are no earnings, there are no profits, there is nothing to report. So the people are buying penny stocks on the belief that there will be even more suckers like themselves, so they will keep buying. So their shares, because of the supply and demand loss, so the shares will go generally higher, and then you'll sell. The most important thing is to sell on time. You can make some money in the penny stocks, but you have to be early enough and you have to get out early enough. That's how it is. Now, if you want to hold it for a long time, it's 100% loss, not even 99, 100%. And now a lot of big companies, now they start more and more resemble the penny stocks because you remember a couple of years ago, very popular meme stocks like GameStop and another one, AMC, I think, the movie theaters, AMC. For some reason, and it was after pandemic, so there were very few moviegoers at the time. But stock was doing phenomenally well because people believe that the pandemic will end sooner or later and the people will start going into theaters and AMCs have very good locations and so on. So it went up crazily. It went up, I think, up to $150 a share, and then it collapsed down to $3 a share. Okay, so go and figure out. I think it's a scam. And GameStop was a scam and still is, most likely.
You have to know. You have to. It's kind of insider. It's pump and dump, and it's insidery. And crypto is the new penny stocks. And there's a family that is making billions of dollars off of crypto scams. They have 6 of them going. You might have heard of them. They are the Trump family, and they are. Yeah. They are involved in billion-dollar schemes. To what you do is you get people psyched, and you put out a bunch of press releases, and you talk up the stock, and you already own it, and you talk it up. You already own the crypto, and then people pile into it, and then if you can, you tiptoe away, you sell if you can, and then when you've quit pumping it up. Then everybody tries to sell, but it's too late because the value, like you said, has gone from 150 to 3.
Exactly.
I thought that AMC was popular because of the notion, because that's around the time that they were doing more like for lack of a better term, and correct me if I'm wrong, Jacoby, but it's like combined movies and there was a title for it, but it was like you would mix the movies and the restaurants together and everything like that. And I think AMC was one of the leaders of that. So it was like it became like a niche market where they were trying to draw more people into the movie theaters by also having restaurants and other like games and other things attached to it.
Not sure who started it, but I mean, are you going to spend it again? It gets back to you getting priced out of the market. Stuff is just becoming so expensive. Like the movie food at the AMC, you want to buy a box of popcorn for $30. You want to buy a pizza that is a individual pizza for $15. When you can get a whole pizza at a restaurant or actually even at the grocery store for $8-9. So you get priced out of the market. So all these things. And it's true, like what Sasha's talking about, the stock is going to fall because nobody's going to the movies.
Well, here's one thing that happened. So I'm looking at AMC. The price of AMC peaked at $261 a share in June of 2021. And now it's $2.68. So if you bought in at the peak, you lost 99% of your money. What's going on in 2021? People are still dealing with COVID. So what happened with these meme stocks like GameStop, people are stuck at home and they're typing away on their computers and they're getting each other excited about these stocks. They're saying it's bullshit that GameStop is so cheap. Let's buy some and let's talk it up. They get everybody super excited. The stock keeps going up as long as people are talking it up. And then once reality starts sneaking in or people, go back to work or whatever, they quit pumping air into it and kaboom, it goes down.
Yep, definitely. That's definitely something that goes on. We got Modern Investment coming up. By the way, Sasha, I will apologize and everything along those lines because I thought that you were done at speaking and all along those lines. So I apologize for exploding that way, but I seriously thought you were done. And as anybody that watches these shows know, I try to listen to hear when people have a pause thinking that they are done. So I thought you were done with your story. So if I misread that and if I exploded because I misread that, my apologies to you. So I do consider you a friend. So I do want to apologize for that and all along those lines because I did think that you were done with what you were saying.
Accepted, Mark. Thanks.
Boo! I want more old people yelling and cussing. More old people cussing at each other.
Because it's usually you who is doing a lot of yelling.
I know.
So today you were what? Today you were on strike.
One more thing. Let's talk about the case of GameStop. So GameStop, people think it has a bad business model, that people are not going into stores and buying it. And I don't know, Jacoby knows more than I do, but in like 2011, 2014, 2017, it's trading from like $4 to $5. And then COVID hits. And then in 2021, people at home get all excited. And in January of 2021, the stock goes to peaks at $80. Now it's trading for 23 because there's still a lot of people who are pumping it up, who are keeping it inflated. So.
Yeah, that makes sense. And
usually, these people are picking up stocks which don't have a large institutional following, that they have a lot of retail people buying the shares, and especially if there are a lot of short sellers. Weak company, people are selling shares short, so then when they will fall down, they will buy them back at cheaper prices. So this is why they selected the AMC and GameStop. And they were very successful because when the stock started to move higher, and there is no visible reasons, there is no news releases, there is really nothing, no financial statements to look at. So short sellers, they were forced sooner or later to buy back the stock at much higher prices that they previously sold. And there is a momentum, there is a liquidity, there are a lot of volume, and people are happy and keep buying and buying more. But then comes time when the lineup of buyers is exhausted. There are no more buyers. And then people who bought earlier, they start, I have to sell. Even there are no buyers around, you have to sell by appointment only. Okay, sell. The stock is nosediving, of course.
Yep.
It's an old story.
Yep, and we got Modern Investment coming up. I know you're going to have your discussion with your good friend that loves the S&P 500, Milan, and I think Jimmy Eat will be on that one as well.
All right.
Okay,
Bye,
welcome.
everybody.
Bye-bye, everybody.